On the night before Thanksgiving in 2022, Jasmine Pace sent her mother a text. Just a few words, nothing unusual at first glance. She wouldn't be joining the family for dinner after all. A change of plans, she said. But as the hours passed, something about that message didn't sit right. Then came the Facebook post, a photo of Jasmine with a caption about spending the holiday with my baby. Except the picture was old, months old. The tattoos she collected few weeks back were missing from her arm. Her family knew then that something was terribly wrong. The words on the screen weren't hers. The smile in the photo wasn't from that night. Someone else was controlling Jasmine's accounts, pretending to be her, while the real Jasmine was nowhere to be found. What began as a quiet Thanksgiving without her would soon become a desperate search for answers, because by the time her loved ones realized what was happening, Jasmine had already been gone for days, and the truth about where she was and who had taken her would prove far worse than anyone could have imagined. Welcome back to the channel. We cover most cases that are not widely known, so we create awareness and educate our true crime lovers. Kindly show us some love by subscribing to the channel and sharing the video for it to reach more people. Thank you. Jasmine Pace kissed her mother goodbye just before 11:30 p.m. on November 22nd, 2022. She climbed into her white Chevy Equinox and pulled out of the driveway of her mother's Chattanooga home, the glow of the streetlights reflecting off the car's paint as she disappeared into the night. Katrina Pace didn't think much of it. Jasmine was 22, independent, and though the family had planned to spend Thanksgiving together the next day, she figured her daughter just needed some space. The recent loss of Jasmine's grandmother to cancer had been hard on all of them, and sometimes Jasmine needed time alone to process her grief. But the next morning, Katrina's phone buzzed with a message from Jasmine's number. "Hey Mom, I'm staying with Emma for the rest of the week. I'll see you soon." It was short, casual, but something about it felt off. Jasmine always called. She never just sent a quick text about changing plans, especially not for a holiday. Still, Katrina tried to push her unease aside. Maybe Jasmine really did just need a break. A photo of Jasmine smiling, with the caption, "Enjoying Thanksgiving with my baby." At first glance, it looked normal, until Katrina noticed the missing tattoos. Jasmine had ink all over her right arm, each piece marking a different chapter of her life. But in this picture, her skin was bare. The photo was old, and the caption, "Jasmine didn't have a baby." Katrina's stomach twisted. She called Emma, Jasmine's friend, who answered in confusion. "Jasmine isn't with me," Emma said. "I haven't seen her in days." Panic set in. Katrina called Travis, Jasmine's father, and together they began reaching out to everyone who might have seen her. Friends, co-workers, classmates, no one had heard from her. Worse, several people had gotten similar texts from Jasmine's number, all saying she wanted to be alone. But that wasn't like her. Jasmine was close with her family, the kind of person who checked in constantly, even if just to send a silly meme. By November 26th, 4 days after Jasmine had last been seen, Katrina was desperate. She remembered the MyChevy app. Jasmine's SUV had GPS tracking. With shaking hands, she pulled it up and saw the car's location, Signal View Condos, a complex off Mountain Creek Road. Jasmine had never mentioned knowing anyone there. Travis and Katrina rushed to the parking lot where they found the white Equinox parked neatly in a spot. The driver's seat was pushed all the way back, far enough that someone much taller than Jasmine must have been driving. The air inside smelled stale, like the car hadn't been used in days. Katrina called the police, her voice breaking as she explained that her daughter was missing, that someone had been using her phone, that none of this made sense. But the officers who arrived were hesitant. Jasmine was an adult, they said. Adults could choose to disappear if they wanted. There was no sign of a struggle, no immediate reason to suspect foul play. They took a report, exchanged contact information, and left the Paces standing in that parking lot, their fear growing with every passing second. Travis refused to wait. If the police wouldn't help, he and Katrina would search themselves. They started knocking on doors at the condos, asking strangers if they'd seen Jasmine. No one had. A security guard, sensing their distress, let them review the building's camera footage. There, on the screen, was Jasmine's car pulling into the lot on November 23rd. The night after she'd vanished. The timestamp matched the MyChevy data, but the driver's face was hidden, their features obscured by a hood. Katrina's checked her phone again. She hadn't noticed it before. A message from Jasmine sent in the early hours of November 23rd at 2:18 a.m. No words, just a location pin, 110 Tremont Street. Her hands trembled as she showed Travis. They didn't know what it meant, but they knew one thing. They had to go there. Now the search was far from over. Katrina Pace sat at her kitchen table, Jasmine's phone records spread out before her. The police hadn't been much help, dismissing her concerns with the same tired line. She's an adult. She can leave if she wants to. But mothers know, and Katrina knew. Every instinct screamed that something was terribly wrong with her daughter. Scrolling through the call logs, one number stood out. On November 22nd, the night Jasmine disappeared, there had been a call lasting over an hour. Katrina dialed it immediately, her pulse racing as the line connected. A young man's voice answered. Katrina introduced herself as Jasmine's mother. The voice on the other end, Jason Chen, a computer science student at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, sounded surprised. He claimed he'd only spoken to Jasmine briefly that night, just a quick chat, but the phone records didn't lie. "I don't know what to tell you," Jason said. "We talked for maybe 5 minutes. She seemed fine." Katrina's hands shook as she hung up. The difference between his story and the evidence was glaring. Why would he lie about how long they spoke? And why did he sound so unconcerned that Jasmine was missing? Meanwhile, Jasmine's friends were receiving strange messages from her social media accounts. Emma showed Katrina one that read, "Just need some space right now. Don't worry about me." The wording was all wrong. Jasmine never talked like that. Someone was carefully crafting these messages, trying to buy time. Katrina called the police again, insisting they question Jason Chen. The police still didn't do much, saying they still have no evidence of foul play, and that Jasmine was an adult that chose not to be contacted. Katrina still argued with the police that someone else was using her social media account to send messages and that it wasn't her. The police department promised to look into it, but Katrina could tell they weren't taking her seriously. She hung up in frustration. That's when she noticed something else in the phone records. After that long call with Jason, Jasmine's phone had barely been used. No calls, few texts, just those carefully worded messages to friends and family, all sent during daylight hours, nothing late at night when Jasmine was usually most active. Katrina called Travis, Jasmine's father. "We need to find this Jason Chen. There's something he's not telling us." As they pieced together the digital trail, more inconsistencies emerged. Jason had told Katrina he barely knew Jasmine, but friends revealed they'd been dating for months. Not serious, but certainly more than acquaintances. And then there were the purchases. Someone had used Jasmine's credit card at a Walmart near Jason's apartment on November 23rd. The police finally agreed to question Jason, but when they did, he stuck to his story. Brief conversation. No idea where Jasmine might be. He even suggested maybe she'd run away, citing her grief over her grandmother's death. But Katrina knew better. Her daughter wouldn't just vanish. Not without telling someone. Not without her cats, which she adored. Not without the small things that mattered to her. Her favorite jacket, the necklace her sister had given her. The digital breadcrumbs were adding up, painting a disturbing picture. Someone had taken great care to make it seem like Jasmine was still alive and choosing to be absent. Someone with access to her phone, her accounts, her personal information. And that someone, Katrina was becoming increasingly certain, was Jason Chen. As night fell on November 26th, 4 days since anyone had actually seen Jasmine, Katrina sat staring at her daughter's last real communication. A location pin sent at 2:18 a.m., 110 Tremont Street. The timestamp matched exactly with the neighbor's report of hearing screams around 2:15 a.m. Her mother's intuition turned to ice in her veins. She and Travis raced to the apartment complex. They approached Building 110. A resident taking out trash noticed their frantic expressions. "You looking for someone?" he asked. When they mentioned Jasmine's name, his face changed. "Apartment 210. There was some kind of commotion there the other night. Woke me up around 2 a.m. Sounded like a fight." With shaking hands, Katrina knocked on 210's door. No answer. She tried the handle. Locked. Peering through the window, she could see a small travel bag on the counter that looked familiar. Too familiar. It was the teal weekender Jasmine always carried when staying over at friends' houses. That's when Travis noticed the apartment door wasn't completely latched. With one firm push, it gave way. The smell hit them first. Bleach and something metallic underneath. The apartment looked clean at first glance, but details stood out like warning signs. A bottle of peroxide sat conspicuously on the kitchen counter next to a package of new sponges. The living room floor gleamed suspiciously in patches, as if someone had scrubbed certain areas repeatedly. Katrina's hands flew to her mouth when she spotted Jasmine's driver's license and credit cards stuffed carelessly in a desk drawer. She would never leave these behind, Katrina said. Travis pulled open the bedroom door and froze. The bed had been stripped bare, but dark stains seeped through the mattress. Cleaning supplies were stacked against the wall. Multiple bottles of bleach, gloves, trash bags. They called 911 again, this time screaming into the phone about blood and missing persons. When officers arrived, they seemed more concerned about the paces entering the apartment than the evidence before them. "This is Jason Chen's residence," one officer said, checking records. "We can't just assume something happened here because you found your daughter's bag." Katrina nearly collapsed with frustration. "Look around you. Her belongings are here. There's blood on that mattress. Our daughter sent this location right when a neighbor heard screaming." Finally, after what felt like hours of arguing, the police agreed to secure the apartment and apply for a search warrant. As night fell, Katrina refused to leave. She sat in her car outside the complex, watching as officers finally returned with the warrant in hand. What they found would haunt them all. Blue Star forensic spray lit up the apartment like a gruesome constellation, glowing patches on the floors, walls, even the ceiling revealing where blood had been hastily cleaned. A broken wine glass, a kitchen knife with its tip missing, and in the bathroom, more stains where someone had clearly tried to wash away evidence. The most damning discovery came when detectives checked the dumpsters. There, carefully hidden under other trash, they found Jason's white sneakers, the same ones seen on Walmart surveillance footage from November 23rd when he'd purchased cleaning supplies. The shoes were stained dark in splotches that looked suspiciously like blood. As investigators worked through the night, one fact became painfully clear to Katrina. This wasn't just a missing persons case anymore. The amount of blood, the cleaning attempts, the discarded shoes, her sweet Jasmine hadn't just vanished. Someone had tried to erase her, and that someone, the man whose apartment this was, the last person to see Jasmine alive, was still out there. While police finally launched a full investigation, Jason Chen remained free, unaware that the careful scene he'd tried to clean was telling its own terrible story. Katrina sat in the parking lot as dawn broke, tears streaming down her face. She already knew in her heart what the police wouldn't yet say aloud. This wasn't a search for a missing daughter anymore. It was a hunt for justice. Detective Sarah Morrison stepped carefully through the crime scene. The living room was out of place. Furniture was not where it's supposed to be. Scratch marks on the hardwood floor where something heavy had been dragged. A kitchen knife lay on the bare mattress, its tip conspicuously missing. The bedroom also was sprayed with luminol to determine if blood was present. Blood was found on the doorframe, splatters near the closet, a horrific stain beneath where the bed had originally stood before someone moved it. The entire room lit up like a macabre constellation. Officer Daniels reviewed security footage from a nearby Walmart on Lee Highway on November 23rd. The timestamp showed 9:14 a.m., less than 7 hours after Jasmine sent that final location pin. There was Jason Chen wearing his white sneakers to the store, loading his cart with peroxide, bandages, and industrial strength cleaner. The cashier wouldn't remember him, but the camera caught everything. Back at the apartment complex, another detective was interviewing Courtney Brewer in apartment 208. She explained to police that around 2:15 a.m. a woman screamed, not like an argument, but real fear, then running like someone was being chased toward the front door. Her account matched exactly with the timestamp on Jasmine's last communication. More surveillance footage showed Jason leaving multiple times on November 23rd, first in the morning, then returning with Walmart bags. But the most chilling footage came at 5:52 p.m. Jason emerged from the building's side entrance, struggling with an enormous black suitcase, its weight making him stagger as he dragged it toward his Toyota Camry. Katrina, Jasmine's mother sitting in a patrol car with a blanket around her shoulders, couldn't remove her eyes from the surveillance footage. That suitcase looked new, too large for a weekend trip, and the way Jason strained to lift it, her mind recoiled from the terrible implication. Inside the apartment, forensic specialists made another discovery. Fragments of broken handcuffs in the bedroom trash can. Not police cuffs, but the cheap kind sold at adult stores. One of the cuffs had its chain snapped, as if someone had fought against it with tremendous force. Detective Morrison knelt by the bathroom tiles, where she felt there was immense struggle. She tried to get away, she murmured to her partner. Whatever happened here, Jasmine had been alive long enough to fight back. As night fell on November 27th, the pieces came together with dreadful clarity. Jason's morning Walmart trip, the afternoon spent scrubbing floors, the evening struggle with that massive suitcase, every move calculated, every action methodical, but he'd made mistakes. The SIM card from Jasmine's phone later found in his backpack. The security footage from the Signal View condos showing him parking her Chevy Equinox. The neighbor who heard screams matching the exact time of Jasmine's last location ping. On November 29, 2022, police cars rolled quietly into the affluent Nolansville neighborhood where Jason Chen's parents lived. Officers approached the two-story brick home with weapons drawn, aware the computer science student might flee. When Jason opened the door wearing sweatpants and a loose t-shirt, his first words were, "I knew you'd come eventually." As officers cuffed him, they noted the fresh scabs on his knuckles and a long scratch along his forearm that looked weeks old. In Jason's childhood bedroom, detectives found a black backpack containing damning evidence, handwritten notes attempting to establish false alibis, like when he last saw Jasmine, a to-do list that included items like wipe down car and new suitcase. Detectives also found the SIM card from Jasmine's phone tucked inside an eyeglass case. Jason Chen phone records and GPS coordinates showed he'd spent nearly an hour at this remote stretch of riverbank on the evening of November 23rd, right after he'd been seen struggling with that enormous suitcase. Officers stormed the location they suspected Jason had dumped the suitcase. They organized a boat to take them to the bank of the river. A rookie officer named Daniels was the first to spot something unusual. A patch of black plastic peeking through dead leaves about 20 yards from the road. As they approached, the shape became unmistakable. A large, hard-shell suitcase, partially submerged in the mud near the water's edge. The stench hit them before they even touched it. the smell of decomposition mixed with the chemical tang of cleaning products. Detective Morrison snapped on gloves as crime scene techs photographed the suitcase from every angle. When they finally unzipped it, even seasoned officers turned away. Inside, wrapped in 3 layers of industrial trash bags bound with duct tape, was Jasmine Pace. Her petite frame had been folded into a fetal position, her right wrist handcuffed to her right ankle, her left ankle shackled to her right elbow. The cheap metal cuffs had rusted slightly from exposure, and one chain link had snapped, likely from Jasmine's desperate struggles. The medical examiner, Dr. Stephen Cogswell, would later count at least 60 separate stab wounds concentrated on Jasmine's upper left side, many clustered so close together they overlapped. The fatal strike had penetrated her heart, leaving the broken tip of a kitchen knife embedded in her chest, a perfect match for the damaged blade found on Jason's bed. Most chilling of all was the positioning of the wounds, indicating Jasmine had been curled up defenseless when attacked, unable to protect herself or flee. Back at the morgue, Dr. Cogswell made another critical discovery. Jason had claimed he and Jasmine had been drinking wine before their argument, but toxicology showed no alcohol in her system. The only substances in her blood were traces of adrenaline, the natural response of someone fighting for their life. For Katrina Pace, the call from Detective Morrison shattered what little hope remained. She collapsed against Travis, her wails of grief echoing through their home. Their worst fears had been confirmed in the most brutal way possible. Jasmine hadn't run away. She hadn't gotten into some drunken fight. She'd been methodically butchered by someone she trusted, then discarded like trash. As news spread, Jasmine's friends gathered at her favorite coffee shop, holding each other and flipping through photos of her on their phones. There was Jasmine laughing at a concert, Jasmine cuddling her cats, Jasmine making silly faces with her nieces. The vibrant young woman in those pictures had been brutally murdered by her supposed boyfriend and her broken body pulled from the riverbank. Meanwhile, Jason Chen sat in an interrogation room at Chattanooga PD headquarters. His carefully constructed lies didn't hold any water. Detectives confronted him with the suitcase, the handcuffs, the Walmart receipts for cleaning supplies. They showed him the security footage of him struggling with that heavy load. They played Courtney Brewer's statement about the screams. Still, Jason clung to his story, a drunken quarrel gone wrong. Most damning of all was what detectives found on Jason's laptop. Search history for How Long Before a Body Decomposes and Tennessee River Currents dated November 22nd, hours before Jasmine even arrived at his apartment. As night fell on December 1st, Jason Chen was formally charged with first-degree murder. The judge set bail at $5 million, calling the crime exceptionally heinous. The trial began 3 years later in January 2025. The courtroom packed with Jasmine's family wearing purple ribbons, her favorite color. Jason entered wearing a navy suit, his expression blank as defense attorney Josh Wise made an unexpected opening statement. The defense told a story of a drunken lover's quarrel gone wrong. He claimed Jasmine had flown into a rage after hearing Tinder notifications on Jason's phone, attacking him with a broken wine glass. In his panic, Jason allegedly grabbed the nearest weapon, the kitchen knife he'd used earlier to open a wine bottle. The handcuffs? Simply a distraught young man's attempt to make the body fit in the suitcase after Jasmine was already dead. But prosecutor Cody Womp systematically dismantled each lie. She called Walmart employees who testified about Jason's suspicious purchase of cleaning supplies hours after the murder. Tech experts proved no Tinder notifications had occurred that night. Most devastating was neighbor Courtney Brewer's testimony about hearing Jasmine's final screams and the sounds of a chase through the apartment at 2:11 a.m., exactly 7 minutes before Jasmine's dying act of sending her location to her mother. The medical examiner, Dr. Cogswell, demonstrated how the 60 stab wounds clustered on Jasmine's left side proved she'd been restrained in a fetal position when attacked. These are the wounds of someone who couldn't fight back. During sentencing, Jason's mother addressed the court through a translator, pleading for mercy. Jasmine's sister Gabby spoke next, holding a photo of Jasmine with her godson Waylon, stating that her sister will never get to have children again. She'll never get to grow old, because Jason Chen decided to play God with her life. When the jury returned after just 45 minutes of deliberation, Jason showed his first visible emotion. His hands trembled slightly as the foreperson read the verdict: guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. The judge imposed the maximum sentence, life without parole, calling the murder exceptionally cruel and heinous. As officers led Jason away, he glanced back at Katrina Pace, Jasmine's mother, one last time. Her tear face held no forgiveness, only the satisfaction of justice served. Immediately after the sentencing, Katrina and Travis Pace filed a civil lawsuit against Jason Chen's parents. The legal documents accused Mr. and Mrs. Chen of helping their son evade police in the critical days after Jasmine's murder, providing him money, shelter, and even helping him research legal defenses while the Paces were desperately searching for their daughter. Katrina signed the paperwork, telling the lawyer that the Pace family knew what their son had done. also stating that when they were knocking on doors and calling hospitals, they were hiding a killer in their home. The lawsuit claimed the Chens had seen Jason's injuries, noticed his strange behavior, and must have suspected something terrible had happened. Yet they'd done nothing. Meanwhile, Jasmine's absence left gaping holes in countless lives. Her best friend Bailey Putnam adopted Jasmine's 4 cats, though they still waited by the window every evening at the time Jasmine usually came home. The community college where Jasmine studied counseling planted a memorial garden with purple flowers, her favorite color. Gabby, Jasmine's older sister, found herself staring at her son Waylon's drawings of Aunt Jazzy in heaven. The 2-year-old didn't understand why his fun-loving aunt who always brought him stuffed animals had disappeared. She was going to be the best mom, Gabby told friends at a memorial service. Now she'll never get the chance. The Pace family's relentless efforts became a beacon for other families of missing persons. Despite initial police dismissal, their refusal to give up had uncovered the truth. Travis gave interviews urging other parents to trust their instincts and don't stop looking even when you're told to do so. As seasons changed, the Paces faced their first holidays without Jasmine. Thanksgiving, the anniversary of her disappearance, was especially brutal. They gathered at Katrina's house, where Jasmine's empty chair sat draped with her favorite sweater. Her nieces left drawings under the chair for Aunt Jazzy in heaven. The wrongful death lawsuit dragged on, with the Chen family fighting every allegation. But for Katrina, it was never about the money. "This is about accountability," she told the judge during one hearing. "My daughter mattered. Her life mattered." On what would have been Jasmine's 23rd birthday, friends and family released purple balloons outside the community college. Each carried a handwritten note to Jasmine. Bailey simply read, "I miss your laugh every day." The district attorney announced new training protocols for Chattanooga PD, spurred by Jasmine's case. Officers would now treat all suspicious disappearances as potential crimes from day one. Katrina's advocacy had helped push through, requiring faster analysis of digital evidence when someone vanished under questionable circumstances. Thank you for following Jasmine's journey with us. If this case impacted you, please consider sharing her story to help raise awareness about missing persons cases. Subscribe for more in-depth coverage of true crime stories that matter. Remember to hug your loved ones tonight. Life is fragile and every moment counts. Thank you.